All right, so on your desk you need 4 things: your notes, your calculator, your red pen, and your pencil. All right, so today we're going to be going over 6.2, the percent proportion. So if you would, turn in your notes over to 6.2. The first thing that I want you to do, you'll see up at the top, there is a little cloud. I want you to take out your red pen and in the cloud put this formula. Is over of equals P over 100. So once again, you are writing that formula, is over of equals P over 100 in the cloud that's at the top left of your notes. I want you to take just a couple minutes and fill in the rest of these blanks. There's going to be 4 things that we're really focusing on today. Is, of, P, and 100. Okay, so this is a formula you're going to want to have memorized. And is going to be the number that follows the word is. And this is going to be the part of something. That's why you're writing part in red. The next one, of, is the number that follows the word of, okay, and that's going to be the whole of something. And then finally the P stands for the percent, which makes sense because percent starts with a P. Okay, so make sure you've got all that in there. Once again, make sure is over of equals P over 100 is in that cloud at the top. Everybody read to me, what does the percent proportion formula say? Is over of equals P over 100. Say it one more time. Is over of equals P over 100. All right, that formula is what we're going to be using the whole lesson today. Number 1 says to write and solve a proportion to answer the question. There's 3 things I'm going to be looking for: my is, my of, and my P. The first thing I'd like you to do with your red pen is to take this and underline the 2 words, what percent. Do you think that is going to be my is, my of, or my P? P. My P. How come? What's P stand for? Percent. Very good. So I'm looking for the percent. Next, I want you to circle the part that says of 15. Now, if you look at our notes up here, it says of is the number that follows the word of. So what's going to be my of today? What number? 15. 15. Very good. And the last and final thing I want you guys to do is underline is 12. As you know in the notes, it says the number that follows the word is going to be our is. So what is my is, class? 12. The first thing I want you to do at the beginning of each problem is to write down what the percent proportion is. This is what it is. Everybody write this down. Is over of, you're writing this with your pencil, equals P over 100. Now be careful not to write too big. You want your size to be about the size of the words that I have printed in your notes. Otherwise it might not fit in your notes, okay? So is over of equals P over 100. Guys, according to what we underlined and circled in the original problem, what is my is? 12. So instead of an is, I'm going to write a 12. What is my of, class? 15. So 12 over 15 equals, do we know what our percent is yet? No. If you see, I underlined it says what percent. So P is actually what I'm going to be looking for. So we're going to keep the P over 100. Okay, so we've talked about proportions before. There are 3 different ways that we can solve a proportion. We can do it with multiplication, cross products, and what's the last one? Mental math, okay? So for this one today, I want us to go ahead and use cross products. So let's circle these that are diagonal from each other. Drop down your equal sign. We're going to put 15 times what? P equals 12 times 100. All right, so we'll drop down the 15P again. Jalen, what's 12 times 100? 1,200. Trenton, how do I get the P by itself? Divide by 15 on both sides. And when you do that, Gavin, what do you get? 80 is correct. Now if I go back to my original problem, it says what percent of 15 is 12. So the answer is going to be 80%. Let's put a little percent sign right there and box the answer in. Okay, so that's how this type of problem is going to work. Let's go on to problem B. It looks very similar to what we just did. 24 is what percent of 20? I want to circle underline, and circle again each of the different parts, my is, my of, and my p. So the first thing I'm going to underline is 24 is. Everyone take your red pen and underline 24 is. What do you think I'm going to circle next?
Yeah, what percent?
The two words, what percent. And finally, we're going to underline of 20. Now put the red pen up at the top of your desk and we're going to start once again with writing out the original formula of the percent proportion. It's what we put in that fluffy cloud. So what am I going to write first, class?
Is over of equals P over 100.
Very good. Okay, and each time I want you starting with that formula because it's going to get it into your head, and then when you have it for a test or a quiz, you're really going to know that formula already, okay? Einar, what's my is? 24. Ava, what's my of? 20. Noah, what's my P?
No, we don't know.
And we don't know it, so we're just going to keep it as a P over 100. Now this looks like one that I could easily find the missing link, so I could use mental math. So if you could see right here, I am trying to work from getting from a 20 to a 100 because I'm trying to discover how to get from a 24 to a P. Does anyone know what the missing link is from a 20 to a 100? What do you think it is, Gavin? 5. Now am I going to multiply by 5 or divide by 5? I am multiplying by 5. So the missing link is times 5. On the bottom you can see 20 times 5 equals 100, which means on the top I also have to multiply by 5. Isaac, what is 24 times 5? Very good. P equals 120. Once again, I'm going back to my original problem, and it says 24 is what percent of 20? So what should I put? 120%. Then you can box in the answer, 120%. Any questions on problem B? Let's go to the next one. Once again, each of these are very similar. Huang, what should I underline and circle of my original problem? Remember, I want an is, an of, and a P. Okay, we're going to start by underlining what number is. That's going to be my is. What should I circle next? I'm not going to circle is and 80% because that would be my is and my P in the same thing. Good job. We're just going to circle the 80%. And finally,
Of 60.
Underline of 60. Remember, each time we're going to start with our formula. Hayden, what is the formula that we're going to write first?
Is over of equals P over 100.
Very good. Now we're going to do a plug it in, and see what the is, of, and P are. Hope, what is my is? No, 80% is going to be the P. The is still unknown. We don't know what the is because it says what number is. So since it's a mystery to us, we're just going to put in X. Hope, what would my of be? 60, very good. And then P for percent, what would that be? 80, okay? Now 80% means the same thing as 80 over 100. So you're not going to keep the percent sign. You will never have a percent sign inside of a fraction. All right? What method do you think we should use for this, class?
Cross product?
Cross products. I think that's a great idea, okay? Could we do multiplication if we wanted? We could, because then we would just be getting rid of the 60. But I think cross products is one that people do really well. So let's just circle across. Hayden, what should I write next?
100x
Equals 60 times 80. Okay? And then Hayden, when you multiplied that out, what is 60 times 80?
4,800.
Very good. Matthew, how do I get the x by itself? Divide by 100 on both sides. On the left side, we can see that this does cancel out. And Isaac, what are we left with as our answer?
48 equals x.
Okay, 48. Now, should I add a percent sign to the end of that?
No.
Why not?
Because we're not finding percent.
We're not finding the percent. If you notice up at the top, it asks us what number is 80% of 60. So the number is 48. You can just box in the 48. Going on to the next one. Who would like to help me with the circle and underline part? Ava, what should I circle and underline?
10%.
Underline 10%. That's going to be my P.
Circle of 40.5.
Very good. Guys, make sure you're doing this with your red pen, okay? That helps it to stand out and for you to remember at the beginning of every one of these kinds of problems, you want to always circle and underline to dissect it or to separate it, okay? And Ava, finally, what will I underline? Is what number. All right, Talila, we're going to start with our percent formula. What should I write? Is over of equals P over 100. Everybody say that together. Is over of equals P over 100. Einar, what's my is? We don't know it, so we're going to put an X. Gavin, what's my of? 40.5. Amira, what is my P? 10%. So I'm going to put 10 over 100. Guys, does this look like a good missing link problem? Like a good mental math? Probably going from a 40.5 to 100 would be a tough one, don't you think? So what method should we do instead? Let's do cross products again. All right, take a minute, try to do it on your own and see what you get. Does anybody want to help me? Trenton, what'd you do next?
I did 100x equals 40.5 times 10. And
Excellent.
then you drop down the 100x and then equal the it equals 405.
Very good.
And you divide it by 100. And then x equals 4.05.
Okay, x equals 4.05. Guys, can I get rid of that 0 that's there in the middle?
No.
Why not?
It's behind the decimal.
It's behind the decimal and it's tucked in with a number behind it, okay? So we've got to keep it like that, so that is correct. Going back, it says 10% of 40.5 is what number? So we're going to keep it as just that number. The answer is 4.05. How many of you were able to get that on your own? Nice work. Let's go ahead and turn the page. All right, the next problem, problem E, once again is similar to the other ones. Noah, help me to circle and underline to separate the is, the of, and the P.
Underline of what number?
Okay, that's in the middle. Let's start from left to right. What's the first thing I should underline?
Underline 45%.
Good job. That's going to be my P. Then what should I circle?
Should circle of what number is?
Of.
No, circle 9.
Okay, now here's the only thing. If I circle of what number is, I have now put my of and my is in the same section. I only want one of, one is, or one P. So what should I circle instead? Just do of what number. Good job, guys. Once again, make sure you're doing this with your red pen. And finally, underline what, Noah? Very good. Brayden, what is my proportion formula? Is over
Is over of equals P over 1.
Very good. Hayden, what's my is?
9.
9. Huang, what's my of?
X
X. Isaac, what's my P?
45%.
Okay, so instead of writing 45%, I'm going to write 45 over 100 because that means the same thing. Now, at this point, I do not care which method you use, but we cannot do multiplication. Why can I not use the multiplication method? Because the X is in the denominator, okay? So you guys need to either do cross products or mental math, and I want you to find the answer on your own. Go ahead and stand once you think you have the correct answer on problem E. Thank you for doing it without talking. How many of you who are already standing would say you used mental math? Mental math is typically the fastest way. How many of you would say you did cross products? Okay, you guys may have a seat. Remember with the mental math way, I am trying to get from what I know, 100, back to X, which means I have to figure out how I got from a 45 to a 9. Guys, what's the missing link from 45 to 9? A 5. If I'm going from something bigger, 45, to something smaller, 9, what is it? Divide by 5 or multiply by 5? It is going to be divide by 5. Okay, so 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is what? Is 20. How many of you did mental math and you got X equals 20? How many of you would say you did cross products? Okay, I'll show you the cross products way also. Hopefully you were still able to get the same answer. All you would do is cross multiply these. We've got 45 times X equals 9 times 100. What is 9 times 100, guys? 900. So I've got to divide by 45. And what is 90 divided by 45? X equals 20. Very good job. So hopefully you were able to get that answer. Let's go on to the next one. 30 is 150% of what number? Einar, what should I circle and underline with my red pen? Okay, 150% is the thing in the middle. What should I underline that's to the left of it? 30 is. And what should I underline on the right? Of what number? Angeline, what should I write for my percent proportion formula? Very good. All right, on your own, I want you guys to do problem F. All right, class, what is my is? 30. What's my of?
X.
What's my P? 150 over 100. How many of you would say you did mental math? Okay, if I did mental math, I am trying to answer how to get from 100 to an X. In order to do that, I have to figure out how to get from a 150 to a 30. If I have something bigger and I'm going to something smaller, am I multiplying or dividing? I am going to be dividing. And what number would I divide by?
150.
Divided by 5. Class, what is 100 divided by 5? 20. So the correct answer would be X equals 20. How many of you did it that way? Who would say you did it cross products instead? If you did it cross products, were you able to get the same answer?
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's the goal. The answer in the end was X equals 20. If you did not get X equals 20, you do need to erase it and fix it. Okay, for this one, we've got a modeling real life problem. It says there's an Arctic woolly bear caterpillar that lives for 7 years and it spends 90% of its life frozen. If it spends 90% of its life frozen Is that more than half or less than half of his life?
More than
It's more than half. That's almost his entire life he spends frozen. How many of you left your house today to come to your car, or you left your car to come into school and you felt like you were freezing? All right, this morning was pretty cold and it's going to be even colder tomorrow. But what we're trying to figure out is approximately how many years of this Arctic woolly bear lives his life frozen. Okay, so in order to do this, we're going to start off with our formula just like we've used all day. Everybody, tell me, what is the percent proportion formula? Is over of equals P over 100. All right, I want you to write that original formula down. Now, I need you to glance back at the notes right before this that we took at the beginning of class. Okay, right underneath where it has the fluffy cloud and it says is over of equals P over 100. It tells us the is either the part or the whole. What is the is according to your notes? It is the part. What is the of according to your notes on the front page? It is the whole. So with your red pen to the left of is over of, I want you to write this. Part over whole. Is over of means part over whole. We're going to put it in parentheses just so we understand how we're getting our is and our of. What part of its life is it frozen? Do we know that, class? No. We do not know it yet. Okay, that's what we're trying to find out. So instead of is, we're simply going to put an X. Of is going to be the whole, his whole life. Do we know how many years this Arctic woolly bear lives? 7. He lives for 7 years, so over 7. Equals, do we know the percent of its life that it's frozen? 90%, so that means 90 over 100. Now we just have to solve for X, and that's going to tell us about how many years of its life it lives frozen. So let's use the cross products to help us with this. Jalen, what should I do? Okay, 100 times X equals 90 times 7. Noah, what is 90 times 7?
630.
630. Talila, how do I get X by itself? Divide by 100 on both sides. Talila, what do you get? 6.3. So when I look at this, remember every single modeling real life problem has to have units attached. What units should I attach to this? Years, not percent, because the question, if I go back, it says approximately how many years of its life is it frozen? 6.3 years. Okay, and we wouldn't want it to be percent because we already know it lives its life 90% of the time frozen. Okay, any questions about that right there? All right, let's go on to the final 2 problems. What percent of 5 is 3? This is a review of what we've been doing all day. Gavin, what should I circle and underline with my red pen? What percent? That's my P. Circle of 5. That's my of. Underline is 3. Class, what is the percent proportion formula?
Is over of equals P over 100.
All right, I want you guys to try it on your own. Stand once you have the answer just to problem 1. All right, let's check our answers. You guys may be seated. Guys, what's my is? 3. What's my of? 5 equals, we don't know our percent yet, P over 100. How many of you did mental math? Okay, if you did mental math, what was the missing link? Okay, times 20. 5 times 20 is 100. 3 times 20 is what? 60. Okay, if you didn't do it that way, how many of you did it cross products? Okay, if you did it cross products, then we know 5 times P equals 3 times 100. What is 3 times 100? 300. Divide it by 5 on both sides, and you would still get the same answer that we got before. But the question asks, what percent of 5 is 3? What percentage is it? 60% is the correct answer. Box that in. All right, last and final problem. Who wants to help me with it? Angeline, what should I circle and underline? 50 is? Good job. That's our P. Very good. Everybody start off by writing is over of equals P over 100. Angeline, what's my is? Good job. What's my of? X. And what's my P? 35. So we're going to write 35 over 100. Now I'm going to warn you, this one is a little tricky. It's not going to come out as a whole number, okay? I want you to round it to the nearest tenths place, okay? Try to do it on your own. The way you're going to have to do this one is with cross products. Remember, once again, it is okay if it does not come out as a whole number. Most of the time, I give you easy problems that come out as whole numbers, but sometimes you're going to have different ones that don't. So is there anyone who'd like to help me see what it is that you got for this problem? Isaac?
A decimal.
Okay, you did get a decimal. Help me out. How did you get that?
28.5744.
Well, help me to see how you got your answer.
I divided the 35x by itself and the 1,000.
Okay, we're not going to divide it. We're going to do 35 times x. Okay, we're doing cross product, so I want you to double check how you did it. Is there anyone else? Ava, will you help me? 35 times x equals? 50 times 100. Ava, what did you get for 50 times 100? 5,000. And how do I get x by itself? All right, divide by 35 on both sides. When you did that, what did you get? Okay, read me your big number. Okay, how many of you got that big old answer? This is okay, but I am going to ask you, if you ever get a big, long problem, I always want you to round it to the nearest tenths place. Guys, what's the tenths place here? The 8. Okay, that's the number right after the decimal. The 8 is looking at his neighbor over here and saying, hey, number 5, are you 5 or bigger? What would that 5 say, yes or no? Yes, it is bigger. So should my 142.8 stay the same or get one bigger? It's going to get one bigger, so what's the answer? 142.9 is the final answer today. Okay, now once again, I know most of the time we have whole numbers, but no, it is okay to have decimals and fractions. It doesn't always work out to be perfectly whole. Okay, any questions on what we did today? All right, what I want you to do is pull out a piece of paper and write down tonight's homework. It is 6.2, and how many problems do you need to do tonight? 9. So at this time, I want you to pull out your big ideas on your phone and go ahead and start working on it. Now, the first 3 problems, numbers 1, 2, and 3, or if you're doing it out of your book, 1, 5, and 8, are going to be review problems. So if you get stuck, use your notes from yesterday. Those can help you to answer it, but there are, once again, just 9 problems. I'd like you to quietly, without talking, go ahead and work on this assignment now.